Okay, very quickly. This is going to be the first in a series of a couple, probably 2 or 3 different videos that I'm going to be basing on this example essay that I've written for you. This is an example of the second summative task for Year 10 history for this term. This is the essay on the individual historical figure from the Second World War, where you're making the case for and against the idea that they are guilty of either war crimes or crimes against humanity. So I've written this essay, which probably is around a sort of a B plus A minus sort of standard. I didn't want to pull out my best material, obviously. I'm going to be posting it on Sector and everywhere else I can think to post it, just so that you've got a bit of an example to work off of if you feel like you're getting stuck or you're talking yourself around in circles or you're getting distracted by irrelevant pieces of information. Now, bear in mind that this is an 800-word essay. 800 words sounds like a lot, but once you actually start to get into it, it's quite easy to go over. So you need to be really economical with your words and make sure that you're staying on point all the time. My very strong recommendation, and what I'll be talking about throughout this video, is that you should start off not with the introduction, but with the first paragraph of your essay, the first body paragraph. And the reason for that is simple. Introductions and also conclusions are much easier to write once you've got the guts of what you're talking about worked out. So my recommendation would be, if you're having trouble getting started, start off by writing paragraph 1, follow on with the other 2 body paragraphs, and then finish up with your intro and conclusion. Paragraph 1's a really easy, straightforward one to write, and it will tell you whether or not you've done enough background reading and research beforehand. The way we're structuring this essay, or the way I recommend it be structured, you can do it in different ways if you feel confident enough. But if you're looking for a nice, simple, standard way of structuring the essay, the way I recommend you do it is this. Obviously, you start out with an intro, you finish with a conclusion, and in between, you write your first body paragraph outlining the facts of whatever the topic is that you're talking about, your second body paragraph outlining the case for the prosecution, okay, so arguing why the person you've chosen deserves to be convicted as either a war criminal or someone who's committed crimes against humanity. And the third and final body paragraph is doing the exact opposite. You're making the case for the defense, why they shouldn't be convicted of those crimes. And there's a lot of different approaches that you can take for these things, but we'll discuss those in the next video. For the time being, just the facts. So you're just going to start off writing paragraph 1. Again, skipping over the introduction. If you get stuck, go straight to paragraph 1, and we'll come back and we'll fill in the introduction later on. I've chosen to write about Winston Churchill, and I've chosen to write about him in relation to the so-called firebombing campaigns that were conducted against German cities by the Royal Air Force during World War II. And this was a kind of an indiscriminate bombing campaign by the RAF against German civilians who weren't directly involved in the war. Okay, so it's always been a little bit of a question as to whether Churchill is technically guilty of a war crime by allowing these campaigns to go ahead. And that's what I've entitled my essay, Was Winston Churchill a War Criminal? And all I've written is this. I've laid out the who, what, where, when, and why. And I've given a little bit of detail about what certain key terms mean. And so I've just written, Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom between 1940 and 1945, and consequently was in charge of Britain's war effort for the majority of the Second World War. During that time, the Royal Air Force conducted an aerial bombing campaign against German towns and cities. This was part of a joint campaign with the US Air Force to disrupt the German economy, and the bombing campaign was not restricted to military targets. the RAF attacked German factories, transport hubs and warehouses, and as a result, they killed many civilians. As the war progressed, Churchill and the RAF adopted a policy of area bombardment, which was indiscriminate bombing of civilian areas intended to break the morale of the population which occupies it. This policy was partly a response to the Blitz, during which time the German Luftwaffe bombed civilian areas of London and other major cities. The most well-known example of Churchill's area bombardment policy was the firebombing of Dresden in 1945, during which at least 18,000 civilians were killed during a single night of intense bombardment. Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward, comprehensive first body paragraph. I've established who I'm writing about, and I've also established, by saying that he was in charge of Britain's war effort, I've also established that he was in a position of responsibility. Okay, so he did have a responsibility to not commit war crimes and crimes against humanity, as do we all. I've also given a little bit of background about what was going on. So I've talked about how aerial bombing was an important part of the war, and that it was deemed necessary, given that this was a total war, to use aerial bombing to disrupt the German economy. I've gone into a little bit more detail about what sort of targets they were going after, and I've mentioned that they had the incidental effect of killing civilians. I've also talked a little bit about the specific language that Churchill and others used, talking about area bombardment and the effects that it had, and also, using this quote, I've illustrated the fact that they used this as a way of waging terror against civilians. And that's all. You finish up with a specific example, because it's always nice to have a specific event that you can make reference to. And you've got all the elements, the who, what, where, when, why, and how, that set the scene, if you like, and establish the facts for whatever arguments you're going to make in paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. So other than new quotes that you might be introducing or new arguments that you might be making, the fact that you've laid out all these facts in your first paragraph means that you probably won't need to introduce too many more facts in your second and third paragraphs, and that leaves you plenty of room to make your arguments, and you will need a lot of room to make some compelling arguments for and against the prosecution and the defense. Okay, so if you're stuck, what I want you to do for the time being is simply write paragraph 1, laying out the facts, everything that's going to be relevant to the argument that you're going to be having with yourself for the remainder of the essay. And tomorrow, I will release a second video where I'll talk you through everything else. We'll talk about the intro and conclusion. We'll talk about making arguments in paragraph 2 and 3, and I'll also give you some tips for research.